So I made my intro to charting video about a year ago. And since then, there's been so many changes with servers and editors that that video is now obsolete. So today I want to make a new video, a new guide on how to make custom Project SEKAI charts for Sonolus. But before we dive into that, I just want to quickly advertise my Discord server. We mainly post about Project SEKAI and other rhythm games, but I also post pictures of my cat.
Spin. Nice catch.
So feel free to pop in and join a conversation, or if you got any questions and need help with anything, I or someone else can help you out there as well. Now let's get back to the video. So I want to divide this guide into really 3 parts. First is song prep, basically how to get your song ready to be used in our editor. And the second part is charting, an overview of basic functions and how to navigate around the editor. And the third part is testing and distribution, how to playtest your level and as well as share it. So starting with song prep, the first thing you want to do is find a song that you want to chart. I'm going to be using this song that I found on YouTube, Daydream. Luckily, no copyright sounds. The channel that posts these songs allow you to download their music in the description, as well as use them in your YouTube videos. For other songs that don't have a download link, you'll have to find your own way of downloading them. I can't legally tell you how to do that, but a quick Google search can probably give you an answer. To keep things organized, let's make a new folder for our chart, name it something creative like new chart. And this is where I'll be saving all of my files. Now that we have our song, I want to do a little song prep, and that basically is cutting the song, finding its BPM, and making sure it's in the right format. And luckily, you can do all of that from my website. If you head over to loudloser.com/song-edit, I built a little web app that lets you upload your song, select what portion of the song you want to use, or you can just leave it alone and use the entire song. For my chart, I want the song to fade out the last 2 seconds, so I'll select that and change it to 2. You can also have the music fade in, but it's not necessary for this song. Now I'm going to open up the advanced features on the side here and select auto, and this will scan your song for the BPM. In my testing, the auto detect works about 90% of the time. Sometimes it'll display the halved BPM, so instead of something like 160, it'll show you 80. So you just need to be careful of that. And occasionally it can show you a wrong BPM, especially if your song has like wonky rhythms. In our case, the auto is showing the wrong BPM. So for situations like this, I'll find the BPM manually. You can do that by tapping the manual button along to the beat of the music, and it'll average out the rhythm that you're tapping and give you the BPM value. So the correct BPM should be 131. And now that we have our song trimmed and the BPM detected, we can click on download and it will give you a trimmed MP3 file, which is perfect for charting and uploading to the server. So you're probably wondering, why would you use this app instead of something like Audacity, which is also free? And for me, it all comes down to ease of use. Audacity is a great tool, but there's so many features and it's very overwhelming, especially if you're only looking to use like 2% of those features. So I just simplified it down to what you see on the app here. Another thing is that my app also accepts video files. So for example, if you have a screen recording of a song you want to use, you can just upload that and it'll convert it to an MP3. Here's a screen recording I got off of Instagram, and as you can see, it uploads and converts fine. And probably the best part of all is that it's mobile friendly, so you can do this from your phone or tablet. Do note that converting a video is pretty intensive, so it may take a few minutes if you're using a phone. And while we're here, let's make a song preview real quick. This is what plays when a user has your song hovered in Sonolus. So let's set the length to 30 seconds and move the highlighted area to around where the chorus is or whatever part you want. And we'll save this and name it Daydream Preview. And we're done with the first section. You now have a song that's ready to be charted. Now, prepping your song might sound tedious and unnecessary, but it's actually a very important step in the charting process, and will determine how the rest of your chart goes, especially getting the correct BPM. If you have the wrong BPM when you're charting, you might as well just throw everything out since it'll always be off sync and unplayable. Now let's move on to the second part of the guide, and that's the actual charting. And in order to get to that, we're going to need a chart editor. For this video, I'm going to show you how to use the SEKAI editor, but a quick disclaimer, this editor is still being developed, so it's a little wonky in some areas. So I'm only going to be showing you the basics on how to make a chart, and not really a full in-depth tutorial. If you're interested in using the other program, Miku World, I could make a follow-up video on how to use that. Just let me know in a comment if that's something you're interested in. Also note that while I am using SEKAI on my PC, you really don't have to use a PC. You can use your tablet or phone, but in my opinion, that sounds like a nightmare, and it'll probably take 5 times longer. But I understand not everybody has access to a computer, and that's okay. You gotta work with what you got. But me personally, that sounds so ass. Like, you will never catch me charting on a phone or a tablet, because that just sounds like a horrible experience. Seriously, if you ever go from charting on a PC to a phone, I feel so sorry for you. I feel so bad for you. Anyways, to get to the editor, you can go to this website, and you should have a blank page like this. But if you played around with the editor before, you might have some leftover notes scattered throughout your lanes. Let's clean this up by resetting the editor. On the bottom left, click on the first icon, and that'll open up the menu. And then click on the trash can to reset everything. This gives you a clean base to get started. Now currently the preview on the left hasn't been implemented, so let's shrink this down so we have more room to work with. And let's make our lanes a little wider by using the bracket keys to zoom in and out. If you're on mobile, you can click this button down here and click on the magnifying glass to zoom in and out. Now let's import our song. Click or hover over the second icon and you should see a music symbol. Click on the first option and find your song. For me, I'm going to select the Daydream-Cut MP3 file. Now at the very start of the chart, on the right side, you'll see a purple number. This is the BPM of the song. Go ahead and click on that, and then on the right side, in the properties, you can edit this and set it to what BPM our song is. In this case, it's 131. It's very likely that your song might be slightly off sync or doesn't start exactly on the beat. We can fix this by going into the BGM menu by clicking on the music symbol and adjusting our offset. This is something you kind of have to play around with. Adding a negative value will push the song back in this direction, and adding a positive value will push the audio forward this way. If you look at the audio waveform in the back, you'll notice some parts have little spikes that push out further than the rest of the song. This is usually a kick, and most of the time it'll be placed on the beat of the song. Basically, what I like to do is try to line up these spikes to one of the beats in the editor, or one of these lines that's labeled by a number. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly on the line. I found that having the spike just a little bit past the line is the best sounding offset, at least for me. Really try to take your time on this because lining up the audio is extremely important. And if the offset is wrong, it can potentially ruin your entire chart. So once you've gotten the song aligned correctly, let's go over some of the basics of the editor. You can press space to start and pause playback. If you're on mobile, you can click on the play button here, and to pause it, press it again. And at any time you want to go back to the beginning of your chart, you can click on this icon here. For scrolling up and down, I'll usually use the scroll wheel on my mouse, or trackpad gestures if I'm using my laptop. But alternatively, you can use the arrow keys to navigate. Up and down is kind of limited though, so I like to go into the settings at the bottom right here, go down to options for the scroll page up and scroll page down, and change these to arrow up and arrow down. So now when you press the up and down keys, it'll go up an entire beat. And of course, at any time you want to customize the hotkeys, feel free to hop into the settings and change whatever you think seems fit. I'm mostly going to stick to the default buttons though. So let's go over how to place notes. By default, you should be on the select tool. And remember, you can always press F to go back to the select tool. Starting with the basic tap note, pressing A will have you switch to the note tool, or you can select this icon here. And now you can tap or click to place down notes. You can also click and drag the notes to resize them. Or you can click the note to highlight it and then change its properties on the side. In the properties, this is where you change the notes into a critical note, a trace note, or a flick. When you're using the select tool, you can click and drag to select multiple notes and adjust their properties all at once. And once you change a property of a note, the next note you place down will keep those properties. To get rid of the notes, you can individually right-click the note, or you can select multiple notes and right-click to mass delete them, or select the eraser tool, and then you can left-click or tap to delete notes, or select multiple notes with the eraser tool to delete them all at once. Moving on to holds, it's a little weird how they work, but you switch to the hold tool by pressing the S key, or clicking on this icon down here. And then you'll notice that your mouse looks like just a regular tap note. Just go ahead and tap wherever you want the hold to start, and then tap on where you want the hold to end. And it'll create a hold connecting the 2 points. And as long as a note is selected like this, tapping any point while the hold tool is selected will continue the hold. Alternatively, if you already have placed tap notes, you can turn those into holds as well. Just make sure they're selected, and with the hold tool, tap the next point and it'll connect. And similar to the tap note, you can select the note and change its properties on the right side. If you want to make a hold curve, go to the properties and go down to connector ease. And you can change this to in or out, depending on which direction you want the hold to curve. And you can do the same thing to the hold mid, or you can tap it with the hold tool selected to toggle between the different ease types. Hey, what are you doing? Creating guide notes sort of work in a similar way. First, place down a hold in whatever shape you like, and in the properties, go down to connector type and switch it from slide to guide. And for the start and end notes, you can either change them to trace notes, or if you don't want any notes at the start or the end, you can switch them to anchor in the note type. Okay, and with that, technically, that's all you need to know to get started on your first playable chart. I really don't recommend trying to add any crazy gimmicks or flashy effects if you're new to charting. And that should be something you learn later on once you've gotten a better grasp with basic charting. But for a basic workflow, after importing and syncing your song, I like to put down placeholder notes to the rhythm of the song. These can follow either the vocal or the instrumental. Sometimes you'll need a note to be placed in between the lines here, and you can do that by changing the division. Basically, each beat of the song is divided into multiple sections based on what division you have set. Personally, I can get away with charting 90% of songs just only using the 1/2 or 1/4 divisions. Occasionally, you might have rhythms that are triplets, so you can use the 1/3 or 1/6 depending on how fast the rhythm is. But for the sake of simplicity, let's keep the division at 1/2. And once I've made it to the end of the chart, I'll go back and start moving the notes around to create patterns. I like to do it this way so that instead of being overwhelmed of trying to come up with a pattern to go to the rhythm, I'll figure out the rhythm first and then worry about the patterns later. Because you might end up making a pattern that doesn't really go to anything in the music, and I find that really awkward as a player. So now that we have a basic chart done, how do we test it? First thing you want to do is export your level data. At the bottom left, select the Save button here, and this will give you the level data. Go ahead and save this somewhere where you can find it easily. I'm going to go ahead and save this to our chart folder. Now, in order to test our chart, you have to upload it to one of the custom servers. Right now, there are two to choose from, UntitledCharts and SEKAI. The main difference between the two is that SEKAI has a review process before they can be approved to go public, and the minimum song length has to be at least 1 minute. And UntitledCharts accepts almost anything. It's not really a huge concern at the moment, but when you're ready to make your chart public, this is something to consider. My personal opinion, for experimental charts and stuff that you're still learning, I'd recommend uploading to UntitledCharts. And when you're feeling more confident and feel like your charts are a little more polished, try uploading to SEKAI. As a player, I enjoy browsing charts on SEKAI, since each chart has been reviewed to be within a certain standard. On UntitledCharts, there's a lot of trash you have to sort through before you actually find a good chart. Anyways, to upload to UntitledCharts, head to their website. And at the top, there's a login button. Then click Login via Sonolus. If you're logged in on a computer, they'll provide you with a QR code that you can scan from within the Sonolus app. In the app, click on Link and then Camera. Then scan the QR code. But if you're logging in from a mobile device, it should automatically open Sonolus for you. And once you've done that, you can go back to UntitledCharts, and you should now be logged in. Now make sure you're on the dashboard, and then you can click on Upload New Level. Now go ahead and fill out the level details. All of this should be self-explanatory, but when you get down to cover image, this is the song jacket that users will see when they're selecting or browsing charts. You can really use any image as long as it's related to the song. For me, when I downloaded the song, they already had a cover image, so I just used that. Here is also where you upload the MP3 file that we made earlier, and also the preview file we made. Chart file is the level data that we exported from the SEKAI editor. If you used another chart editor, they might have a data file that's .sus or .usc. UntitledCharts supports all three versions, so whatever file type you have, just go ahead and select it here. Background image is optional, but if you want a specific image to show on your level, this is where you upload it. Otherwise, you can just leave this blank. So once everything is filled out, go ahead and click Upload Chart. And by default, this should be private. In order to play your chart, you have to hop onto Sonolus and connect to the UntitledCharts server by putting in this URL. Once you're in, go ahead and scroll down to Playlists. And your custom chart should be uploaded here. So go ahead and play it, test it out. If you want to share your level with friends, set it to unlisted. And then if you click on the cover image, this is the page that you can share with your friends to play and test out your level. And then once you're happy with your chart and you think it's ready to go public, go ahead and change the privacy setting to public. And now your song should appear in the UntitledCharts server for people to see and search for. UntitledCharts does have a Discord server, and I highly recommend joining if you're interested in charting and want to upload your charts there. Now I'm going to show you how to upload your chart to the SEKAI server. A lot of the process is pretty similar, but instead of having to go to a website, you can actually upload your files into the Sonolus app itself. But for the video, I'm going to be doing this from my computer, and we're going to this URL here. If you're using your device, this is the URL that you add to your server list. And once you're in, select Levels, and at the top, there's going to be a button that says Create. Here is where we're going to enter our song information. You mainly only have to worry about the starred options, since these are the most important. And then the cover, BPM, preview, and data are the same as uploading to UntitledCharts. But SEKAI only supports level data format, exported from the SEKAI editor. So if you have a .sus or .usc file, you'll have to convert those to level data in order to upload it here. You can do that by going into the SEKAI editor and clicking on this folder icon, and then selecting your sus or USC file, and then export it or save it as a level data file. And then the last four entries are optional. You don't really need to worry about these unless you have a specific asset you want to use for this chart. Now go ahead and submit it, and then navigate to the levels section. Scroll all the way down to the bottom, and now your chart should be under drafts. If you're already in Sonolus, you can go ahead and play your chart here, or edit any of the options, and you can share it as well. Making your song public in the SEKAI server involves a few more steps compared to the UntitledCharts. First off, you have to make sure that you have the right files when submitting. Then you have to submit a replay of you or someone playing your chart and getting a full combo, or at least close to it. This is to make sure that the song is actually playable. You can do that by playing your song, And then on the results screen, hit Create under Replay. You can leave all the options as default, but make sure that Auto Submit Replay is set to On. And then when you feel like your chart is ready, go ahead and hit Submit. Now your chart goes through a review process where it's checked to see if it meets a certain standard. This is just to make sure that the server won't be filled with unfinished or lazy slop. Usually the reviewers will give feedback on what needs improvement or fixing. Usually this is like if you're using the wrong offset or if certain notes are misplaced. But once your chart passes the review, it'll be public and available to view in the levels page. Next, SEKAI does have a Discord server as well, and this is where the reviews get posted. So if you're looking for direct feedback, I highly suggest joining. This might seem like a hassle, but overall it's better for the end user experience. When I want to play custom charts, I want to play good charts that are rated correctly. You don't know how many times I've found songs that I want to play, and all it is just random note slop that doesn't even go with the music, or it's incredibly off sync. Anyways, now that we're at the end of the video, you should now know the basics of how to make your own chart. Some recommendations on what you should do next is maybe try recreating an official chart in the game. It's good practice on getting your offset dialed in, as well as learning how to navigate around your editor efficiently. And then when you start making your own custom charts, send them to friends and other players and ask for feedback. Listen to what they find annoying or boring and see if you can apply it to your chart to make it better. And that's all I have for this video. I know it's not really a super deep dive into charting. There's still so much that I could cover, but I feel like just the basics is already overwhelming enough. And I feel like the important thing right now is to just get started. Feel free to leave a comment if you've got any specific questions, or if you're a charter with some helpful tips, please feel free to drop it down below in a comment. Also, by the time this video is posted, we're probably in the middle of the holiday season, so I just want to quickly shout out my shop, luckyprime.us. Currently, we just restocked our Miku and Teto shirts. Buying these shirts or any other merch from our store really helps supports the channel, so do please check it out if you're interested. I'll have a link down in the description. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. My name's Jeff, or you can call me Loud Loser, and I'll see you in the next video.